What if the security system protecting your home right now, the cameras, the monitors, the ability to call for help at the push of a button, all traces back to one black woman sitting in a house in Queens, New York in 1966? Not a tech company, not a government lab. One woman who was tired of feeling unsafe in her own home and decided to do something about it. Her name was Marie Van Brittan Brown, and almost nobody knows who she is. That is exactly the kind of story we tell here at 400 Plus. The stories that shape the world you live in, but somehow never made it into the textbooks. So today, we are setting the record straight. Marie Van Brittan Brown was born in Jamaica, Queens, New York in 1922. She worked as a nurse, which meant irregular hours, late nights, and a lot of time spent coming home to an empty house in a neighborhood where crime rates were climbing and police response times were notoriously slow. Her husband, Albert Brown, was an electronics technician, and for the most part, the two of them were on completely opposite schedules. That meant Marie was alone. A lot. Now think about that for a second. You are a woman coming home at odd hours. The neighborhood around you is changing. You call the police and they take forever to respond. You have no way of knowing who is at your door before you open it. And once you are inside, you have no real way to monitor what is happening outside. That is not just inconvenient. That is genuinely frightening. And fear, when it meets a sharp enough mind, does not just sit there. It becomes invention. That Marie Van Brittan Brown looked at her situation, and instead of just accepting it, she started designing a solution. What she came up with was something that had never existed before. A closed-circuit television security system built specifically for residential use. Here is what she actually created. She designed a system with a motorized camera that could slide up and down to look through multiple peepholes in the front door. Those peepholes were set at different heights so the camera could capture whoever was standing outside, whether they were tall, short, sitting, or crouching. The live footage from that camera would then be transmitted to a monitor inside the house, so Marie could see in real time exactly who was at the door without ever getting close to it. But she did not stop there. So she added a two-way microphone system so she could speak to whoever was outside without opening the door. She included a button that, when pressed, would send an alert directly to security personnel or the police. And she added a remote control mechanism so the door could be unlocked remotely if she decided the person outside was safe to let in. All of this. In 1966, she and Albert filed the patent in 1966, and it was officially granted in 1969, patent number 3482037. It is a real document. You can look it up. It lists Marie Van Brittan Brown as the primary inventor. Not her husband, not a company. Her. Now let that timeline sink in for a moment. We are not talking about 2005 or even 1990. We are talking about 1966. The civil rights movement is still raw. Some technology, as most people understood it, meant transistor radios and black and white televisions. The idea that a private individual, let alone a black woman working as a nurse, would design a fully functional home surveillance and communication system at that moment in history is not just impressive, it is extraordinary. And here is what makes her story even more powerful. She was not doing it to get rich. She was not trying to start a company. She was solving a problem that was deeply personal and deeply real. She wanted to feel safe in her own home. That is it. That desire, combined with her intelligence and her husband's technical skills, produced something that would eventually reshape an entire industry. The modern home security industry is worth tens of billions of dollars. Ring doorbells, Nest cameras, ADT monitoring systems, smart locks you control from your phone, all of it. Every single piece of that industry sits on a foundation that Marie Van Brittan Brown built. The core concepts she patented, remote camera monitoring, two-way communication at the door, instant alert to authorities, remote access control, are not just similar to what we use today. They are the blueprint. Security companies and alarm system designers have cited her patent as a direct reference point. Her work has been acknowledged by the National Scientist Committee. She received an award from the inventors community recognizing the significance of what she created. But despite all of that, you probably had never heard her name before today. And that is a problem worth talking about, because the way history gets told is never neutral. The stories that get repeated, celebrated, as you put in museums, taught in schools, those stories reflect decisions. Decisions about whose contributions matter, whose names deserve to be remembered, whose genius gets credited. And for too long, those decisions have left out Black inventors, Black scientists, Black creators who built things that the entire world uses every day. Think about how many times you have seen a news story about the latest smart home technology. Think about the advertisements for video doorbells and security cameras. Has anyone ever mentioned Marie Van Brittan Brown? Has any of those companies ever put her name in a campaign, credited her legacy, told their customers that a Black nurse from Queens invented the concept they are now selling for billions of dollars? The silence is loud, as it matters not just because Marie Van Brittan Brown deserves recognition, though she absolutely does, but because her story sends a powerful message. It shows young Black kids, young girls, and anyone from any background that people like them have solved big, world-changing problems. The truth is, those stories just haven't always been shared. Marie wasn't a trained engineer or part of a major tech company. She didn't have access to elite institutions or Silicon Valley resources. She was a nurse who faced a real problem in her daily life. And instead of waiting for someone else to fix it, she used her intelligence and determination to create a solution. What she built went on to shape modern home security systems. Her journey proves that innovation doesn't require a perfect background, just a clear problem, a sharp mind, and the courage to act. There is something else worth noting here. The fact that necessity drove this invention speaks to a larger truth about Black innovation in America. So much of it was born out of circumstances that never should have existed in the first place. Marie should not have had to invent a home security system, because police should have been responding to her community as quickly as they responded to others. That context does not diminish her genius, but it does remind us that incredible things can emerge from unjust situations, and that we should honor both truths at the same time. She passed away in 1999. She lived long enough to see the world start to move in the direction she had pointed it. Surveillance cameras becoming common, home security becoming a mainstream concern. The technology she conceived in a Queens apartment slowly becoming something every household in America would eventually want. She did not get to see Ring or Nest or the smart home revolution. But in a very real sense, she is the reason those things exist. So the next time you check your doorbell camera from your phone, or you hear a notification that someone is at your door, or you watch a news segment about the latest advancement in home security technology, remember this name: Marie Van Brittan Brown. Nurse, inventor, pioneer, the woman who looked at an unsafe world and built something that made it safer, and whose name the world forgot to say out loud. We are saying it now. If this is the kind of history that should have been in your textbooks, you are in the right place. Subscribe to 400 Plus. Though, because these stories are not footnotes, they are the foundation, and we are just getting started.